As a teenager, I didn't belong to any single tribe. My dad was a DJ, so a lot of the music that I got my hands on as a young person was through him. Growing up in Leeds, other influences sort of played a big role, like going to Leeds Carnival. I would be following the Dominica float with my granny, dancing to bouillon, soca, reggae, all these things from a young age. I came down to London to study fine arts, but music was always the thing I spent way more time on, that I got a lot of my enjoyment and sort of release from. I never studied music. I didn't even do music at GCSE, never mind A-level or university. But looking back, the amount of time I spent just searching, discovering, learning, amassing collections, whether it's equipment or records or gigs. I just thought of it as this like fun pursuit that didn't really have an end goal. I started a label basically because I just had all this music. There was no master plan. I didn't have like a 5-year plan or even a 5-release plan. I just had enough music to put out a record. And because it was received with such positivity, it was the case of like, oh, well, let's do another one. Not having a real sense of community where I grew up meant that when I found it in the place that I chose to live, I sort of understood what community really meant. And it's not that I felt a lack of it growing up because I didn't know any different. But having moved here, having been involved in this sort of creative scene of artists, musicians, designers, I just felt a true understanding of the sense of home and community and having a network of people that inspire you, and it's this symbiotic relationship, and that still excites me. I came to Peckham for the first time in probably 2007, and something just clicked. It was cheap at the time, and there was always so much going on, but very like behind the scenes, underground happenings that if you weren't sort of within that very tight-knit network of young creative people, then you wouldn't really hear about. I started working at this place when I was still living in North London, and then I just grew with the place and ended up opening my own venue. And then this is where the sort of cycle continues, and just as that spot was where I sort of got to meet a lot of my peers and do early sort of experiments in music and art and community building, now I'm like able to provide that space for people who are like 10, 15, 20 years younger than me, who are just finding their own feet and starting their own journey. And that's a nice full circle moment. Future Proof was born out of lockdown. This sort of realization that I've sort of accrued a lot of knowledge and skills and joined a lot of disparate dots in the creative and sort of business worlds. And realizing that a lot of people don't really know that much about what's going on behind the scenes. So we started it during lockdown on Patreon. Because I just had time, and we thought it could be nice to like just share some of this knowledge and connect people, because it was a very lonely time as well. So I guess the notion of like building communities took on a very different meaning when people couldn't come together. And we hosted a load of workshops. I did a big sort of lecture on how to start a record label. I had accountants, agents, publishers, managers, as well as musicians, producers, sound engineers, share their skills and sort of mentor people individually. First one was sort of understanding what we could do and how we can deliver it, and getting a little bit of revenue together to be able to launch phase 2, which was giving it to the people who couldn't afford it and otherwise might not have had that chance to level up and learn these skills that will essentially, hopefully one day, level the playing field a bit.